Hi, everybody. This is day 1439 days since Richard was murdered on Fort Bliss, and we do not have his remains. The prime suspects for the murder of our son is his platoon leader, Dallas Hart, and Dallas Hart's mother, Leilani Hart. And it's not limited to those two, but those are the two prime suspects. We have let me make sure that I'm on and that my mic is working. Dallas Hart. Okay, sounds good. Okay. Okay, move over a little bit, right? Okay, so we have a lot of breaking news because we have uh, individuals reaching out to us with information, and the information that I talked about yesterday was hard evidence that has come out against. Thank you for these brave individuals, right? Thank you so much for coming out and exposing that First Sergeant Michael Ruggiero lied to investigators. Okay, he lied to investigators, and we received hard evidence of that. Um, and there's more. There's more. Also, that Borstar canine that was looking for Richard, that was called to look for Richard. So this canine dog, and this was a very, very big deal because we were told in a November 20th, 2020, and that's very important to mark. November 20th, 2020, we were told that this dog, could not really even look long because it had to go pee pee and poo poo, and found nothing, right? That's what we were told, and that we should not. I mean, they were very nervous. And for all the nervousness of the whole thing, and I was thinking, okay, maybe they're nervous. See, this is the problem with a fa- being family, right? Being family with the military. Okay, my whole life, has been being a family with the military, with the United States Army. My dad being a veteran, my husband being a veteran, my dad being over 23 years veteran, my husband over 30 years veteran, my father-in-law um, over 20 years as an Air Force veteran, you know, my sister being a veteran, my brother-in-law being over 20-year veteran, uh, you know, we're a family with the United States Army. With the military. And this is the problem, is that with family, you don't want to realize that they will betray you, right? That they could betray you, that they could um, do to you, lie to you about something so important as the murder and the remains of our son, U.S. Army whistleblower soldier Richard Halliday, right? You, it's very hard to go to these meetings um, when you think that, this is like your family, and that they are going to care for your child, that they are going to care for their family member, that they're going to have esprit de corps, that they're, you know, and that no, in reality, what happened is that Richard reported the unlawful activity that was going on and was continuously and severely retaliated for it. And when he would not go along with their Vanity Fair, with their absolute criminal activity, they decided to murder him. And it was a code red, an internal. And because it's internal, instead of the family of the United States Army doing, looking after its family in the right way and turning in those that have committed this egregious crime within the family structure, they decided to side with the murderous criminals. And as evidence mounts, and evidence is mounting because people are coming forward, and of course new evidence being found all the time. So, and us going through all of this with fine-tooth comb, with new eyes of those that realize that we've been betrayed, that we have to look things very forensically, go through things very forensically, to save the institution, really, from this egregious decision that was made to cover up the brutal murder of our son, Richard Halliday. And this whole thing with Borstar and the K9 and the November 20th, 2020 meeting. Okay, they called us. Who are they? Major General Sean Bernabe, who now is a Lieutenant General for Fort Hood, for Fort Covassos. He needs to be arrested. He needs to be arrested and stripped from his uniform, from his stars, from every benefit that we have liberally given to him, entrusting to him our national security and the care and the welfare of our volunteer sons and daughters, and the UCMJ regulations. He has no excuse, because let me tell you, Major General Bernabe, before he got a star, he had his P.P. McGee JAG officer beside him all the time. Matter of fact, I always said that the real general was the JAG officer. He had access to the UCMJ at every move possible, every decision that he made. And for us to be called in on November 20th, 2020, to be given an after-action report of the K9 search for Richard's remains, and for us to be told that there was nothing that happened except that the K9 had to be relieved early because it went pee-pee and poo-poo. It had to go pee-pee and poo-poo. And once the dog has to relieve itself, it cannot, it messes up the whole search and it cannot continue. new information from individual coming forward has told us that is not true. The Borstar canine had a positive hit, on Richard's remains. Now, this is very important. And, is there anything that can corroborate what we have just been notified of? And here we are in July of 2024, right? 2024. What have we been notified of? That the canine from Borstar, which we're familiar with now, right? At that time, we weren't really familiar with Bortak and Borstar and what their roles were and all of that. So, but the canine came from Borstar, and Borstar had a positive hit with this canine who, we've begged for years for the name of that canine for the handler. And now we're getting the information. But what is corroborating evidence that something changed? That something changed in Richard's case? Well, the day November 20th, 2020, when we were called in to be given the after action report, was also the day that the Army decided to change Richard's status from being considered and I don't think that he ever was because the records don't show it, but they were saying that he was a deserter. And then November 20th, 2020, the day that they told us about the canine, they changed it to whereabouts unknown. Whereabouts unknown. The first CONUS Dust 1 soldier under the new Vanessa Guillen absent soldier flowchart, whereabouts unknown. Now, they did not change the status of Richard to be nice to us, to placate us. The positive hit by the canine and the subsequent, well, think about this. November 20th, 2020. But we already had Nadal Baim say they found Richard's remains in Mexico. And those were partial remains. And now they have another hit on Fort Bliss. And then we were told they had another hit in December. And so we have corroborating evidence, right? The change of status of Richard to whereabouts unknown. And then, of course, the phone call that was made to us to say, did you know that Bernabe is looking for Richard's remains in the mock Afghanistan village on Fort Bliss? Did you know? So there, everything makes sense. It makes sense. And we are, working going forward to let people know that we're not going to, how we have to persist in making sure that the law is followed. The law has to be followed. And, just changing subjects back to First Sergeant Michael Ruggiero. First, he did not follow protocol, y'all. He did not do anything. And then when Richard went missing, he did not do anything. But yet he will take out so much time out of his life to go onto an imposter site, an impersonating site designed with the intent to interfere with the Richards murder case, also by intercepting information and interfering with witnesses, which has all been documented. And he will go on there day in and day out for years, and yet was unwilling to answer our 5-minute questions. What do you know about our son? But his actions at the beginning were to do nothing. And Jay Paulin chimed in. He was retired, y'all. And he chimed in and said, we don't look for AWOL soldiers. We don't look for AWOL. What? July 2020, Vanessa Guillen is found in parts, charred, in a foxhole, covered with dirt and concrete. And there's not one phone call even to the MPs to say, look, keep your eyes open, or let's lock down the gates, make sure. Not one thing is done. No. And then a retired first sergeant has to chime in. And then also chime in on smearing Richard and committing federal crimes, HIPAA crimes, and more. Yeah, Jay Paulin and Michael Ruggiero must be pretty cozy. But nothing was done. So their arrogance, they're very arrogant, and I think they're in big trouble. I think they're very, very big trouble as suspects in Richard's murder case. So we have good news. I don't even know if it's good news, but I think it's good news because it shows and it demonstrates and it proves that we have mounting evidence that is gaining more and more support from the institutions, that the institutions see the mounting evidence, that they are absolutely supporting us, because the new, with every little new Facebook web page that is created to hurt our family, to impersonate, to interfere with Richard's murder case, to interfere with witnesses, to put out a false narrative to the community while engaging in vile and vulgar activities, right? Violent and vulgar and vile activities and grooming. I mean, even targeting children, using grooming techniques. So we've caught them in grooming techniques. And Bob Moore being the media, and um, uh, Amber Chase being with the El Paso Independent School District, and then of course Nick being active duty with Disney and using Disney characters for their vile and vulgar grooming tactics, targeting children in their sexual, because these people are in the adult sexual services industry. That's why Belen, it's so concerning how, Belen was absolutely confirmed by the federal government to be a prostitute very early on, before she had even turned 18. They had confirmed that. And so and what time period were they referring to in Richard's case? Before she had turned 17. So she was a child. This grooming techniques into the adult service, the adult sexual service industry, business world, is very plain in this whole thing, especially with Leilani Hart, aka Lydia Smith, who has a family history and admits to it, and is corroborated by the communication with her and her husband, that the family has a long history with incest, with child abuse, child sexual abuse, with child pornography, with illegal purchase of weapons. And Bob Moore is that's who. He does not want to respond to us in our no less than 15 attempts to communicate with him and give him all kinds of information about his unreliable sources, like convicted criminal Leilani Hart, the mother of Richard's platoon leader, Dallas Hart, who are prime suspects in the murder of our son Richard, and Belen Rocha, who is FBI confirmed prostitute before she was 17. So we're talking about when she was 16 years old. And he's using her, and she's been arrested multiple times. He's using her for a source, and then to use Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, who manipulated her way to get tens of thousands of dollars. Or did she manipulate her way, or does she have a conflict of interest that put her in great favor to the El Paso Community Foundation for them to violate their distribution ethics of money that was donated to the Walmart Mass Shooting Victims Fund, and distribute to her tens of thousands of dollars, when she is not even qualified as a victim. Yeah. And that was being that was being investigated. And so the same people, and why is she targeting Richard? See, this is a thing that's so shocking, is that okay, she wants the money, blah, whatever, and she's, her ex-husband, she's trying to cash in, whatever. Okay, and El Paso Community Foundation, she has some kind of, with that Westar Bank, a conflict of interest, right? But why is she targeting Richard's case? Why, of course, she has this connection with um, Danae Katzen. Why is Danae Katzen targeting Richard's case? Why is Leilani Hart targeting Richard's case? Why are those three peddling along with Belen Rocha, peddling misinformation, peddling criminal activities? And why is, they're peddling it, and why is Bob Moore being their vehicle, being their bicycle, being their vehicle that they can peddle this misinformation? And makes himself very available. It really begs to ask that question, what is going on here? Well, we know that El Paso Matters is owned, by board of directors, but largely by El Paso Community Foundation. So I think that is putting together a lot of dots there, a lot of pieces of the puzzle, that El Paso Community Foundation is directly funding what Bob Moore is doing, and Bob Moore is up to no good. And Bob Moore is using unreliable sources like Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia from the Walmart case, who's targeting Richard's case, and convicted criminal Leilani Hart, who is the platoon leader's mother, right? And then Belen Rocha, Belen Ortega Rocha, who also has conflicts of interest and is in this adult sexual entertainment business at an underage. That's, did she start already? I don't know. That needs to be for investigators, but when you have the federal government confirming that she's in that business, at a very young age, who am I to argue when the evidence is overwhelming because of the illicit videos? And her testimony on record about sexual activity with multiple individuals. I'm telling you, this is like a sex cult, okay? And they target children. They absolutely target children. And today I posted up something that shows you that they target children. I couldn't show you the Disney characters that they used. And don't forget that the PR original, because they're all from the original response team, right? In Richard's case, they're all part of this original response team. But he's at Disney, Nick Nofziger. But he's not at Disney focused on learning how to do good public relations. He's over there setting up impersonating sites with Lydia Smith, aka, who is Leilani Hart to impersonate the family of the recently declared deceased murdered soldier on Fort Bliss, to impersonate the family, to interfere with the investigation, to interfere with witnesses by intercepting information. This is what he's doing over there at Disneyland. And, I'm going to leave it at everybody to, uh, make their decisions on if he's if he's a suspect also. Because, years of this. But I'm very glad to tell everyone that the latest impersonating site has been taken down. So that's 2 in just a matter of days. And, and they committed a lot of crimes with those 2, with their postings and, like posting Richard's legally obtained, not like Leilani Hart's family who obtains weapons illegally. Richard obtained his weapon legally. And, if there was anything wrong with him, they would never have let him buy a weapon. Okay? But he bought 2. And they posted the serial number of one of his weapons. Now that is so illegal. That's very illegal. So it's no wonder that they were taken down very quickly. And this whole thing with the Borstar coinciding directly with the change of Richard's status on November 20th, 2020. Of course, we were given the official change of status on Thanksgiving Day, just a couple days later, in dress blues. So thank you so much, everyone. I know it's super late. It's been just an amazing day. And we just want to thank people from coming forward. We have so many people that have come forward with very, very important information, and we will not forget you. We're, in the middle of a lot of information that is coming forward, so we will keep everybody updated. This is of course, for Richard, but it's also for the community. It's absolutely for El Paso. It's absolutely for our military, for our national security. It's so important to get to the bottom of this, to follow the law. When regulations were not followed, everything was sloppy. But we want the law followed, executed, so that we can get justice, so that we can get Richard's remains. So thank you so much, everyone. God bless you, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing.